Today I'm going to replace the battery on this 2001 Kawasaki ZR-7S motorcycle. The first thing that I need to do is remove the seat, and that's pretty simple to do. Just use the key lock and move the seat and get it out of the way. Now that the seat's out of the way, the next thing that I need to do is work on removing the tank and the airbox, because the battery is down here below the airbox. So the first thing that I'm going to do is remove these two bolts. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is try and remove this bracket that holds the tank onto the bike. And in the past, what I've done is I've taken the tank completely off the bike, and that's kind of a pain in the butt, especially when the tank is full of fuel, like this one is. It's more or less full. So what I'm going to try and do is just work around the tank. And I'm going to lift it up here and try and remove these Allen head bolts using this 6mm Allen key. Okay, what I think I'm going to do here is try and jam something under the tank to hold it up, so I don't have to hold it up by hand while I'm working on it. With those two bolts out, and they just look like that, this bracket can now come out of the way and be set aside. Alright, the next thing that I'm going to do is take the cover off of the airbox. You can see the screws in the front are different from the ones in the back. That's a front screw. And the back ones are much shorter and coarser thread because they just thread into the plastic, I believe. There's the air filter cover, and you can see this plastic basket here. There used to be a foam element that went around this, but that foam element disintegrated and I just threw it away. It really wasn't doing a whole lot for me, I don't think, so I got rid of it. Okay, so there is one more screw holding this down, and I'm going to try and get in there. This screwdriver is not quite long enough, is it? So I found one of these screwdrivers here. I'm not sure what the proper name for this thing is, but this ought to work. I can get this in on the screw head. Okay, after cracking it loose with that other screwdriver, I'm going to use this arrangement here. This is just a regular socket swivel that you'd use on a socket wrench, or one of these. And I've got a 1/4-inch socket on there, and I've got a screwdriver bit. And so now you can see this will just I can kind of hold it in here, and I can just back this screw out like this. Okay, and there's the screw, had a washer on the end of it. Now that wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but I think it was easier than pulling the tank off. So now you can see the airbox just comes out with the air filter inside and all that sort of thing. Okay, now you can see the battery is accessible here. Now I can just remove the battery terminals by simply unscrewing them. There's the positive terminal and the negative terminal. Now the battery should just pull straight out of here. Okay, so here's the old battery. You can see it's an Autocraft battery. I think I got this at Advanced Auto not that long ago, maybe 2 years ago at the most. And I'm kind of disappointed that it's already more or less shot. So I'm going to try Napa this time and see if I have better luck with their stuff. I've been kind of disappointed in recent years with parts and things that I've gotten from Advanced Auto, so I'll probably just keep using them for maybe oil and filters and things like that, and anything of any substance I'll stick with Napa. And just for disclaimer, I have no financial interest in Napa. you know, they're not subsidizing my videos in any way, shape, or form. I don't own stock in that company. I don't work for them, and I don't know anybody that does. I've just had good luck with their stuff as opposed to getting stuff from the other popular auto parts stores. Here's the battery that I picked up from Napa, and probably could have got this battery cheaper online or somewhere else. It was a little bit more at Napa than I've seen other places, but I've had such terrible luck with getting batteries at other places that I decided to pony up and spend a little more for the Napa battery, even though it probably is the same thing. I think it actually has a warranty that I can invoke if I need to, unlike that other battery, which I found out was only a year old and didn't have any kind of warranty on it. So anyhow, so inside this fancy box is a jug of battery acid, some new hold down bolts, which is good because I gave away the nuts with the old battery as the core charge. And here is the new battery, and you can see there it looks a lot like the old one. Okay, so as you can see, the battery is not filled or pre-charged or anything like that, so we're going to need to fill it with the included battery acid here. You can see the jugs. So I'm just going to remove the plastic. I suggest you read and follow all the instructions if you attempt to do this yourself. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is remove this tin foil cover from the battery itself. So you can see inside the cells here, inside the top of the cells, is sort of a piercing nipple, for lack of a better word, that is used to pierce the seal on these jugs so that we can fill the battery properly. So now the next thing I'll do is remove this cap that's on these on the jugs, and you can see the jugs there each one has a little tin foil cap on it, and all we should have to do is put this on top of the battery, on top of those piercing nipples, and push down, and that should allow the fluid to flow from the cells down into from the jug down into the cells. So let me position this a little better on the table, and we'll give it a shot. And this is a little bit like watching paint dry, so I'll just let the battery fill and we'll come back when it's filled. It looks like the jugs are empty, so now I'm just going to slowly pull those out and make sure I don't spill any of the excess liquid or anything on the battery or myself. And then the next thing I'll do is put this sealing strip. This is the strip that I removed off the top of the acid jug, if you recall. Now this goes over top of the battery cells and becomes the cover for the cells. So this takes a little bit of force to push down. Okay, now that that's sealed, I've taken a look at the instructions here, and they recommend that for this battery, you can see from the chart, this is a 12BS, I should let it sit for about 30 minutes before I apply any charge to it. Okay, so the battery's been sitting for about 45 minutes now, and it's ready to charge. So before I put it in the bike, I think I'll charge it, since it's kind of easier to do that out of the bike than it is in the bike. So you can see I've got this battery charger ready to go here, and I'll just clip on the leads, and we'll let it charge. Okay, now that the battery is charged, it's ready to go back in the bike. But before I do that, I'm going to put these nuts, these new nuts that came with the battery, into the terminals, sort of like this, and just let them loosely sit in there right now, but make sure I don't drop them as I put the battery in the bike. Then I want to make sure I orient it so that the positive terminal is towards the positive cable. So in this case, it's going to go in the bike like this. So I'll just drop it down in like that. And now I'll reconnect the terminals. So I'm going to get the negative one connected first. I'll use one of the new bolts that came with it. do the positive one. Okay, so now that the battery is in place, I will drop the airbox back in. Okay, so next up I've got the airbox base in place, and I've got the screws started by hand, and I'll just use my makeshift screwdriver here to kind of get this back in place. This is the one step that would have been a lot easier with the tank off, but I think we can manage. Okay, now I'll put the top of the airbox back on, and again I want to make sure that I use the longer, finer thread screws in the front and the shorter black coarse thread screws in the back. Okay, so the next step is going to be to put the tank bracket back on. And we're just going to line this up and take these short socket head screws. Okay, now that the tank bracket is securely fastened, I can go ahead and lower the tank back into place. And I'm going to remove my spacer, my Pontiac Vibe air filter, or oil filter rather, and get this back into place. And then the one thing I forgot to mention is these plastic covers here clip into the tank, and on my bike on this side the clip is missing and broken and has been for a while, but on the other side I need to make sure that that one goes in place. Okay, so now I've got the tank lined up, and I'll put these two bolts back in. I'm going to use this bigger screwdriver since they are a little bit bigger on the head, and make sure those are torqued in good. The last thing to do is just drop the seat back on. Should be all set to go. Okay, I guess that'll do it for replacing the battery on this 2001 Kawasaki ZR-7S. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to leave a comment or subscribe, feel free to do that as well. Thanks for watching.